I'm Babla Jonathan, and this is the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital. Dwelling our top stories in this edition of the news, an element of the National Gendarmerie is killed in a fight by civilians here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. He was killed during a dispute at an interurban transport agency here in the country's economic hub. And out of the country, the United Nations Organization condemns the killing of 5 aid workers in the northeast of Borno State, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Several parts of Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, were heavily flooded yesterday following the heavy downpour that hit the city. Movement around the town was quite difficult for several inhabitants who had to swim, so to speak, in order to move out of their homes. Details with Equinoxe.
Now you suffer that, so how you go do now? We wait in that and go some before you come. So now still come so you just interface a wall. We could paint the wall and live inside. You don't know the route. You go enter inside wall.
Rain that started pouring at about 4:30 a.m. lasted close to 6 hours, inundating the town, rendering some localities like Newtown Aéroport, Nonglacé, to mention but these, most inundated.
L'inondation est terrible, c'est entré dans la maison des gens et ça a emporté certains.
Rainwater entered homes here at Newtown Aéroport, destroying some properties.
C'est difficile. Vous voyez à l'heure que nous sortons.
We have been blocked for hours in our homes. Though people were evicted and houses demolished for construction of drainage channels, nothing has been done. The company in charge abandoned works, reason why we continue sitting in water at home whenever it rains. While others waited for the rain to cease, some with pressing activities decided to step into the rainwater to their various destinations.
L'inondation est trop venue à cause de la route qu'on avait dit qu'on a arrangé la route.
According to this businesswoman, she has not been able to receive a customer.
Peut-être c'est après la pluie.
Government bilingual primary school Newtown Aéroport has become a swimming pool due to blockage of a drainage channel.
If it is beginning the Kamer school, like the Nova Cal school today, because all water don't flop outside, students flood of school. How beginning to go in come many parts with a uniform.
An official of the Douala City Council claims naivety of the population, like dumping of plastic bottles and other rubbish in streams and gutters, block flexible flow of rainwater. They will, however, keep constructing drainage channels with assistance from the Douala 2 Council while sensitizing the population so as to be free from this inundation. By 10 a.m., the rain had ceased and the volume of water dropped, easing movements of people, motorbikes, and vehicles.
In the report coming up next, we're going to show you the sufferings of people or inhabitants of several villages in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. And their sufferings come from the bad state, the horrible state of National Road number 16. For me, I'm Sanda.
National Road number 16, as they are calling it, just for name. We are having a poto.
This is how traveling on the National Road number 16, notably from Lum in the Mungo Division, Littoral Region to Kumba in the Meme Division, Southwest Region of President Paul Biya's country is. Pains endured by road users for many years.
Since as I know this road, we did in 1952.
I know this road since 1952.
All we will get.
It was start and circulation was very flexible.
Road by Menda, but since I saw the road comes, they come just spoil everything, all business, everything down.
Since existence of the current regime, this Lum Kumba road has been a shadow of itself.
The vehicles that were passing through this way, they are no more passing again. They are passing but Lum, Douala, Boya to Kumba. That's how the vehicles are under. Instead taking the long road instead of this shortcut.
Road users now fear to venture on it.
Kumba will take me 30 minutes, but now even 3 hours and no one reach for Kumba. It's about 11 years we have not yet passed into that road, so the road is too bad. There's too much more. The partner will be suffering too much to pass down the road.
Now, even in locks, they cannot even pass through the road again because the road is too bad.
Motorbike transportation remains the most suitable and desirable along this length of the National Road number 16.
There's nothing like a vehicle. When will you say vehicle? Even have a corpse, only bike. Yeah, why want to deliver? Only bike. Anything here, our own vehicle that we have here is bike.
Transport fare has multiplied at an alarming rate.
At first, when the road was good, we were paying 500 francs a tamlu. But now it's 4,000, 5,000.
First time, Kumba go Bonji been at 1,500. For Kumba go Tombe been at 2,000. For Kumba go Lum been at 3,000 to 3,500. But now Kumba a Bonji 4,000, Kumba Tombe 5,000, Kumba Lum 6,000. So they make a plenty of punches and they find it very difficult to travel through this road.
As a consequence, they, motorbike riders, cannot harvest enough income.
And now we don't have now the lack work. And most passengers they go there around now, we find it very difficult to feed our house and take care for our needs.
Business activities have equally been crippled by this phenomenon.
When road is passing, it's bringing more development. People travel, sell, businesses, every place is booming, but now no way. At first, businesses were moving slowly and was moving well. Everybody enjoyed to do business. But now we cannot do business now again because there's no way, no movement, everything is down. As I'm even making this my chicken, I was at times making about 10 chicken per day, 8 or 9. But now I'm not even able to sell 2. Even on market days, at like Saturdays like this, I'm unable to sell 2.
Principal challenges of this sick road are farmers who at all costs needs to evacuate their farm produce from their farms to markets.
More than 10 years we haven't seen the caterpillar to gather the road. This more than 10 years we haven't seen the caterpillar to gather the road. This is not here. You cannot do anything. We have food, we have plantain, we have cocoa, we have everything, but we cannot bring them out from the village to the town.
These exasperated Cameroonians implore the Yaoundé government. Another phase, another story of the National Road number 16, Lum Kumba. Along the unbearable 35-kilometer stretch are villages and localities such as Tombel, Ebonji, Mungo River and Bangone villages, whose inhabitants are principally farmers. They do well in bananas, plantains and maize farming, but have remained socio-economically down because of one common and a major problem.
We are suffering too much. We are the farmer in the Bonji. The way of transportation of the food, we suffer too much. The way we are suffering, my brother, you can have pity on us. So the way of transportation to bring the food in the market. So people come right to Bangone.
The road is too bad. Even to come here, we cannot even walk to come here. We're struggling a lot to come here. So we beg our allies to help me to grade our roads.
They should even grade the road, even through gravel, so that vehicles can be coming. At times we will be a week without seeing even a vehicle in our area.
Farming being the main source of livelihood in the area, where there are no roads to get crops to the market, the farmers and villagers like those of Bangone consider hard options.
Bangone, Etam, Ebonji, people use their bikes. Some of us, we use canoe to bring our food to Mungo. So when we bring the transportation matter is very expensive for us. You know, we pay people inside the bush before we bring the plantain beside the water, because we have no good roads.
We are trying to buy plantain in Etam, but there is bad road. We don't have vehicle to come and take us here. So it is Okada who is carrying us. We are struggling to buy.
But once in markets like the Mungo River Market, the prices of their goods are again dictated by the bad road.
That is why our crops are not sold in a good price. At times we bring plantains in the market. You see a big bunch of plantains like this one. They are offloading from the canoe. You see a very big bunch. They take it for 2,000. That's because of the bad road. So we are really suffering in this area.
A situation that places farmers and buyers on strained relations.
So when we bring the food now, the buyers are too complicated. So we bring the food, they are complaining the food is not all right, but they are going to Douala, they are selling in a very good price. When they come here, they just buy anything that they give to you, you just take the money, because we don't have any way that you can carry the food back.
Buyers, mainly from the city of Douala, say they are obliged to pay over 150,000 francs CFA for truck drivers to get their goods to Douala because of the worsening state of the road. Before now, the cost of getting a truckload of plantains or bananas to Douala was at 80,000 francs CFA, according to buyers.
Senazi, and for me, Armstrong Sander painting the horrible picture of National Highway number 16, and I told you in the headlines, a gendarme officer has been killed by civilians in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. The officer was killed during a dispute at an inter-urban transport agency here in Douala. That was last night. Details with Smart Njikangebre.
It was a very difficult and long Wednesday night for the elements of the gendarmerie in Douala. It's already 10:15 p.m. at the Douche neighborhood in Douala. The Equinoxe travel agency is heavily militarized with no passengers. This was after two elements of the gendarmerie were attacked by some persons at the Equinoxe travel agency, leading to the death of one, Liepime Amel, who was hit on the head with a stick, and he later gave up the ghost at the military hospital in Douala. Thanks to the security camera at the agency, the gendarme officials took up time to question the suspects to get some other information. It will be recalled that the two elements of the gendarmerie were returning from a mission in the southwest region en route to Yaoundé to take up duties. At the Equinoxe agency, Liepime Amel used the toilet, had no coin. He wanted to go and get change when he was mistaken for a cheat. It is at this point that a fight began. While Liepime Amel gave up the ghost, Yunlwe Yacho Uben was severely wounded. At the time of this incident, those who make business around the Equinoxe agency, the toilet attendants, and the boys who load vehicles alongside the manager of the agency were picked up by the gendarmerie. A total of 6 at the time when Equinoxe television left the scene of the event have been kept behind bars while investigation continue to track down other persons involved in the act.
Now we are taking you to the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon, a region that has been hit by terrorist attacks by militants of the Nigerian terrorist sect Boko Haram for several years today. Many of the villages have been deserted as a result of the recurrent attacks, the killing of civilians by the militants, and of course the burning down of houses and destruction of all the properties. And the authorities of Cameroon and the military, of course, and the joint multinational task force have been striving over the years to push back the militants, and the activities of the Nigerian terrorist sect Boko Haram has reduced in that part of the country, but there are still sporadic incursions in some parts of the far north region of the country. Place like Kolofata, some inhabitants have started returning after a relative calm is now raining or started raining in that part of the country. Details in the upcoming report.
47 municipalities of the far north region of Cameroon, Kolofata has suffered most attacks orchestrated by the Islamic sect Boko Haram, with considerable loss of life and material damage to basic infrastructures at the tune of billions of francs CFA. Government should kindly watch our backs, relentlessly keep eyes on the red zones, because we always have surprises from this group. With life gradually returning, the returned inhabitants who had escaped Boko Haram attacks and lootings desire to recover from the health and economic shock. This follows destruction of their markets, with more than 300 shops burned across this municipality. Here, the population deprived from their activities lack capital to bounce back into business that will enable them generate income for their basic needs. There is nothing to eat. We struggle before children have something to eat. Our children are forced to sell firewood before they can buy food. If the firewood is not bought, you will starve, same as parents. Clothing is another issue. Children don't have clothes to wear. Without hospitals, schools and good roads, the newly installed mayor and his deputies, who do not have their own source of income, usually derived from local and municipal taxes, still do not have a franc and resources that the government must transfer to decentralized territorial communities. Resumption of border activities will boost reconstruction of our community in particular and the far north region in general. We will be able to rehabilitate our roads, especially the deplorable state of our national roads linking our communities. We will also re-establish supply of electricity, which has been lacking for about 5 years.
Fédérateur de développement que on ne peut pas mettre de côté si on veut réellement amorcer une reconstruction.
Installed in their functions, the new executive took oath to renew face of a town that collected revenue of more than 3 million francs CFA annually.
Nous sommes bloqués à ce niveau.
That though with the financial challenge, they will first endeavor to realize the aforementioned major projects with hope of government's financial support.
Comme je viens de les citer, c'est-à-dire les écoles, les centres de santé, ainsi de suite, ainsi de suite.
Economically stricken like the northwest and southwest regions, elites of Kolofata and the far north in general are now hoping to see the reconstruction plan of this region, devastated for more than 5 years by Boko Haram, realized.
The United Nations organization has condemned the killing of 5 aid workers in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The militants abducted the 5 aid workers in the northeastern state of Borno. That was last month, and Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has blamed the militant group Boko Haram for their death. United Nations humanitarian coordinator in Nigeria, Edward Kalun, said it is unacceptable that those who are trying to help are being attacked and killed. In a statement, he said the incident will not deter the international community from providing aid to the millions of Nigerians who desperately need assistance in the northeast. There are also concerns over the number of checkpoints set up by the armed groups along the main supply routes. And that's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Ojong Joseph, journalist with Manu Community Radio and the Advocate newspaper, who was arrested last Sunday and detained over allegations that he took pictures of the house of a police officer bent down allegedly by separatist fighters and sent them to a separatist leader out of the country. He has been released, and since Sunday he has been under detention, and the officers were questioning him. He denied all the allegations. He was released earlier today. Barrister Tamfu Richard, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Babila, for having me.
You are a legal mind, member of the Cameroon and Nigerian Bar Associations, a journalist arrested for taking pictures which he said he did not even take. He said he never went to the area where the incident occurred, notably in the Kumba Central, in Kumba Central, where that incident took place, where the house of the police officer was burnt down. But he's accused of having taken the pictures and having sent them to a separatist leader in the United States of the country, and he was arrested and detained. What's your analysis of this as a legal man?
Yes, the analysis I make is that it becomes very difficult to exercise the profession of journalism in Cameroon because you are assimilated or referred to as abettors of the ongoing conflict which is in Cameroon, because I remember not only this journalist is a victim. I remember Mancho BBC, I remember Thomas Awa, I remember Wazizi just of late, and Joka Kingsley, who is in detention. You see that all these are journalists, and they are being suspected or charged of over offenses for informations that they got while in the exercise of their profession. So it becomes very difficult for a government that is not able to differentiate what's the role of a journalist and how do you handle an armed conflict where journalists have to report. The fact that you are a journalist does not automatically mean that you share the views of the separatists or whatsoever. So you see, during this conflict, we have had